Welcome to Ladies Talking Leafs. I'm Chris.
And I'm Sil.
And we're going to start off the show today thanking our YouTube subscribers as we hit the 500 subscriber mark.
Yay! Thank you so much.
Yes.
So a shout out to a few of our recent subscribers who got us to the 500 number. Cameron Goosen, Simon Anderson, and Roberta Walenta. Thank you so much for subscribing to our channel. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button and you won't miss any of our episodes. And you will also see our video content from games that we attend at Scotiabank Arena.
Lots of video content on there. So
absolutely, yeah.
Check it out. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And now getting to business on the ice for our Toronto Marlies. They are in the North Division Finals of the Calder Cup playoffs. So they're facing the Cleveland Monsters, Columbus Blue Jackets AHL affiliate. And as we do this podcast, the best of 5 series is tied 1-1. They lost on Saturday night, but they're coming back home. So,
yeah, so 2 games coming up at home.
Yeah. A
couple of notable positives for the Marlies during this playoff run. Artur Akhtiamov has been very solid in goal and has a .920 save percentage in 8 playoff games. And defenseman William Villeneuve, who we've always said we need to see more of. He leads all AHL defensemen in the playoffs with 9 points in 10 playoff games as of Sunday when we are recording this. So as we said, the Marlies are coming back home for the division final series, and the games here are on Wednesday, May 20th and Friday, the 22nd. Incidentally, you can get tickets for this. They are on sale already. So go out and get out to a Marlies game. We did do that last time they were in the Calder Cup final. And it was a really awesome atmosphere. Yeah. And you know what? We're starved for hockey here in Toronto. So may as well get it while we still have it, right?
And you might even see William Nylander there.
That's right. Supporting his brother.
Willie's still in the city. He posted it on Instagram today. He was somewhere in a park in Toronto eating something.
I think he also went to Drake's premiere party for his his album.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
so
right.
he's out and about.
You might see him there.
Yeah. Anyway, go Marlies. Yeah, we definitely want them to go far. So, all right, now it's time to get into the show, and we're going to start with our thoughts on the firing of Coach Craig Berube and who could be the Leafs' next head coach. And then for our third period segment, we welcome to the show from Pro Hockey Group, Sam Tirpák, to talk about players the Leafs could pick at this year's NHL Draft. So without any further ado, let's talk Leafs.
Okay, so before we get into the firing of Berube, there is another big development that was initially reported by Steve Simmons in his Sunday column of the Toronto Sun. And the Leafs, though, put out an announcement today that assistant GM Brandon Pridham is leaving the Leafs after 12 seasons with the team. And also assistant GM of player personnel, Derek Clancy, is leaving the organization. So it's a big loss for Pridham, especially Brandon Pridham, as he was well known as the salary cap guru. And previous to his career with the Leafs, he worked with the in NHL's Central Register Department. So yeah, it's a big loss. It now actually leaves 3 assistants remaining. So they're slowly getting rid of the whole bunch of assistants.
Well, I mean, with the Pridham thing, I think it was a mutual parting, they said. I did hear that the GM search process, because he did get an interview for the main GM role, that, that he was not really happy with how that went down with Keith Pelly. So I don't know if there's some bad feelings there because of that.
Okay.
But as for the big loss part, I mean, it's 12 seasons that he's been managing the cap. And yes, we've been compliant and all that's great and wonderful. But I feel like at the beginning, since he's been here 12 years, when he first came in, that role, he was kind of a pioneer of. And I kind of feel like there's a lot more people in the league that do this job. And maybe, because he pioneered it, he created this type of role, and now there's 12 years have passed, and pretty much every NHL team has somebody that can do this. So, it's,
do you think he'd go and join his friend?
At Pittsburgh? Oh, for sure. I bet you he ends up there with Dubas.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Or you never know. He could end up back with the NHL head office again.
Yeah,
that's a possibility as well. I would think. But yeah, like I kind of feel like there's a lot of different people now have learned these ins and outs, and of course, there's so many computer programs and algorithms and things. So I think every NHL front office has people that can do this, and probably Chaika has people in mind, that he wants to work with maybe as well. So
yeah, for sure, he wants his own people in there, and I mean, Brandon Prodom, I guess the main thing that he did, a key part of while he was with us was during COVID, right?
Yeah.
Like that
was the huge, the earlier days or whatever.
Yeah. So,
so got us through that. And so we are grateful to him regardless, because he did a great job for our team, and hopefully he's moving on to bigger and better things. I mean, nobody wants to stay in an organization that basically turned them down for, a more coveted role, right? So I can see that, he probably feels like this isn't his place anymore. And it's sort of a changing of the guard, a new era. And maybe that's its best. Like, you could argue that Treliving should have done that too. When he came in, he kept a lot of the same people, a lot of Dubas's people. You could argue that if he would have brought in more of his own people, and I don't know if Brendan Shanahan at the time had any say in it, but maybe if he would have built, his own team organically, that there might not have been as much dysfunction and infighting and stuff at the end, potentially.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And I think Derek Clancy, I'm just looking it up here, I'm pretty sure he was brought in by Treliving. He was from the Calgary Flames.
Yeah.
So, that part of it, as he was in the player personnel part of it. But anyhow, so there's changes. We'll see what happens with the other two or three positions, assistants that remain, which is Dr. Haley Wickenheiser, Ryan Hardy, who's assistant GM or GM of the minor league operations with the Marlies. So obviously they're on a playoff run. So I don't know, he seems to be doing a pretty good job there.
That's a guy you want to give the benefit of the doubt to, probably.
And Daryl Metcalf is the other assistant GM.
And he's their numbers guy, right? So
he's
their data guy. So
hockey research and development, which they said that's more of what Chaika is himself too. Like, he's got a bigger role now in a sense. So I don't think that a GM nowadays is the guy crunching the numbers. Right. Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into Craig Berube now and the firing. So just, I guess we've said these things before, but why don't you just review what we've said before, basically? Well, obviously we have not been shy in calling out the style of play and how it doesn't match, the types of players that we have. And in particular, it doesn't work well for our star players. Austin Matthews as well. I'm just going to lead into that because he's basically playing way too much in the defensive zone. When he really should be getting a lot more offensive zone starts, right? Yeah. So, to be able to capitalize on his skill set there. Another person who's, there's no doubt affected by Berube's style is Morgan Rielly. Some of it's on the player, and you need to adjust to a new coach for sure. But, we just have said all along that Berube has not done a great job of being able to play to his team's strengths and be able to adjust as well to them. So to make them better, basically. Yeah. And then, of course, how they've used younger players. We just talked about William Villeneuve, in a season like we just had. Wouldn't it have been nice for us to be able to see him a little bit more often, give him a bit more of a taste?
You've got to be able to bring in fresh blood, because part of the issues are with our team. Like, we have a veteran laden team, but sometimes you get some fresh blood in there. It can spark things, and it can spark things for your veterans as well. That is, I think, the missing piece that most people don't really talk about enough, that you've got a little bit of youth. And I think Cowan did the best he could doing that himself, but he was only one guy.
Yeah.
So you've got to bring in some of that kind of fresh vim and vigor to even spark a little bit more energy, with your older guys as well. And so, player development is a big piece.
Yeah. I just think, just during the season, I wrote down a couple of the comments that, at the time, most Leaf fans were thinking, okay, that's it. He's going to get canned. He's going to get fired, right? So in December, they lost 4-0 to the Capitals in Washington on the road. And Berube said it looked to me that Washington had way more urgency in their game, more passion in their game. That's the difference. And then the media asked him,
saying that already in November.
Yeah.
Wow.
December. Yeah. But then the media, somebody in the media asked him, how could that be the case, that your team doesn't have that same passion in a game? And Berube said, go in there and ask those guys. Yeah. That was his answer. And as soon as that was the quote, it was just like, okay, is this guy lost the players basically at that time? And then the second,
I heard too, recently, since the firing around this time, when this week, somebody else said that's usually a first sign that things have really gone south, when the coach starts to throw it back on the players. And even before that, he didn't have any often. He had no answer for why things were happening. And
exactly.
As the coach, you need to have the answer. You need to find the answer.
Yeah.
And he just never did.
And
but go ahead to your other point.
The other one was versus the Senators in March, when they lost 5-2, and he questioned his players' hearts and minds. He said I can't give the players this, pointing to his head, or this, pointing to his heart. And to me, I'm like, that was really one that stood out for me. To actually say you can't give those players you're questioning your players' heart, and whether they're capable. Really all in it. Yeah. All in it and capable like that. I don't know. I couldn't believe when he said that. So those are just 2 parts 2 points in the season. I think there was another one in January, but those were 2 big ones that I just thought, okay, this guy just needs to just be done, sort of thing. And that was the one in March, was before the trade deadline, when everybody was talking about, maybe they should just make that change, but they didn't
pull the trigger.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, they pulled the trigger. We all thought that the coach was going to be going first. And then they pulled the trigger on Treliving at that point.
Right.
And, or soon after that, which was kind of a surprise. It's been very bizarre the way things have unfolded. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, now Berube, I think he did the best that he could in a strange time with the Leafs. And of course, no one likes to see anybody get fired. So I don't know if this is the last kick at the can for him. Hopefully not. But anyway, he's going to have a little bit of time to relax, I guess.
It's funny because we all thought that he was the guy that's going to come in and bring some accountability to these players. We were all excited about it, but it just it didn't work out.
Yeah, and then the first year, I guess, was a bit of a mirage. So
yeah.
Anyway, all right. Yeah. Well, now we're going to look a little bit at some potential candidates. There's a lot of them. But we want to know who's going to be the 42nd coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. So let's start with some well-known names first. So we've got names circulating: Peter Laviolette, Bruce Cassidy, of course, although Vegas is not basically given permission for anybody, which they're probably not gonna, because they're Vegas.
Yeah.
Dean Evason And I also added in there Bruce Boudreau because of his Toronto connection and the fact that I think people want or thinking that, it's usually you got like a tougher coach and then you go to a player friendly coach. And he's like the player friendliest pretty much. And he's a smart man. So, but some of these guys are getting a little bit older. Peter Laviolette,
I don't think any of them are going to get the job.
No, I don't think so. I think that they're going to probably look for somebody with, that's fresher, like, more innovative, newer ideas, works with younger players, and we'll get to those guys.
Yeah.
I did read an interesting article about Bruce Cassidy today, though, in The Athletic, and he probably the gist of the article is he the right person for the Leafs, or are the Leafs right for him? And in some sense, he as far as style of play and everything goes, he definitely could be a really good fit, because he's basically the architect of the real resurgence of Bergeron when he went to Boston and turning him into that first line into like a juggernaut line. And he did that by, lo and behold, giving Bergeron tons of like over 60% offensive zone starts versus defensive zone. Like he flipped that.
Right.
And we can see how that, went for him. And he was like even older than Austin Matthews is now. So you can only imagine, if a coach uses him correctly, what that could do. So that kind of it did excite me. But then there is the whole thing about, would he want to come here? Because we're not as close to contending as a couple of other teams, namely the Oilers potentially. So that
Even
might be
his. I don't know. Personally, with them, with the Oilers, they have issues on defense. They have issues on goaltending as well. But I heard too that Cassidy is interested more so in the Oilers. But of course, Vegas won't let him go there. I guess being a divisional rival, or they won't.
Potentially
the job. Yeah, I didn't hear the interview, but Peter Laviolette apparently kind of interviewed himself for the job, or put himself out there for the job on TSN on an interview. So
I mean, he's another one of those guys that is a short-lived kind of coach, like he gets a lot out of players initially, but then it's a short fuse, kind of like Berube or Keenan or, or even Bruce Cassidy, that he's kind of getting that reputation now. I think that some of these older guys, the players that they're dealing with now are different. So I think the patience runs thin, because, they are the way they are and the players are the way they are. So you can try to, do all the work. I mean, Babcock supposedly tried to do that and he couldn't even get through preseason. So, that's why I think that, I don't know. It's difficult to say whether any of these guys could really work. Deaton Evison, I mean, that's another interesting name, but he doesn't
more
really
like
have
Berube, definitely. I think he's more tougher.
And but he also doesn't have, maybe the winning pedigree that they would really like to see, as far as, getting really far or whatever. Bruce Boudreau, I mean, everybody would have a soft spot for him. He's getting older, though. That's the thing that I worry about. And, do you really want to end up in this basically boiler pot of Toronto? I could just see how red he would be all the time behind the bench. His face just looking like it's ready to explode. So.
But I think
I don't know
he's
if it's good for his health.
Yeah, really. But he loves the Leafs, that's for sure.
He does.
That's too, and being a former player too of the Leafs. But I don't know. We'll see. All right, let's go on to the second chance, coaches. And all of them have the link to the Oilers, funnily enough. So it's Jay Woodcroft, Todd Nelson, and Chris Knobloch. Personally, I don't think any of the three, although Todd Nelson was interesting. I did read a little bit about him because I totally forgot about him, because he only coached 51 games for the Oilers. And he was an assistant he moved on from the Oilers to be an assistant with Dallas, and for 4 seasons. And then last season, he was with Pittsburgh, with the Penguins. And he actually was in charge of he was an assistant coach in charge of their power play. And he was the one that actually sparked their power play to be.
So that's actually an interesting name then, somebody that they didn't really give, too much time to really cement his pedigree there. But he's obviously gone backwards a little bit just to maybe hone his skills even that much more. So, and with 2 good organizations. So,
yeah. And Jay Woodcroft, I mean, the only thing with him, I guess that is...
I think he got a raw deal personally.
Yeah. I mean, he had... I didn't even know this, but the Oilers had the number 1 power play of all time with him as the coach in the 2022-23 season. So, I mean, that's pretty good at 32.4%. And he was the assistant of with the Ducks this past season. So he knows how to
and
deal with the younger players and stuff. Yeah.
And his replacement, is also on this list and has not been able to really get them to cross the finish line either. So, and I don't know, there's something about Chris Knoblauch. He's just... And I don't know if this would be a good thing or a bad thing in Toronto. I just find him so emotionless.
Yes.
Back there.
That's what they're saying about him.
And he just doesn't ever say anything. So I just don't know how that would fly here. But it could be a good thing. The fact that he seems so emotionally detached from everything. Yeah. But who knows what he's like, behind the scenes. But I don't know. I just don't see the fit there.
Yeah, no, I don't see it either. I just don't think he doesn't have that. Like, you need a little bit of fire behind the bench. Yeah. Right?
I think so, especially here.
To be motivational, to have some motivation on the players, sort of thing, right? And I don't like that. So, yeah.
In the right way.
I guess.
Yes. Yeah. So, I don't know. It's a fine line, folks. Anyway, but anyway, now let's look at some of the new kids on the block that could be in contention. And at least one name is very familiar, and that's Manny Malhotra. But there's also a few other names like Misha Donskov. David Carl has been thrown out there a lot. We'll talk about him in a bit. And then another interesting name, which is Jussi Ahokas, which he's a Finnish, basically coached in the Finnish league. I think probably a player there as well, but he just won the OHL championship with the Kitchener Rangers. So he's kind of a younger up and coming guy as well. I don't know how young actually, but there's some corners of the NHL that feel like it's high time that some European coaches and minds are brought over here in the coaching ranks. We've had a lot of players come over here and be very successful from Europe, and now it stands to follow that there's some young smart minds from those leagues as well. So that's a kind of an interesting name. Manny Malhotra. A lot of people think he might stay in the Vancouver organization.
I'm pretty sure he will, just because. He'd be a good candidate for here, obviously.
Well, and he's from here, and he's already coached here. Yeah, he knows what he's getting into if he takes this job. That's for sure.
But in some ways, some people are saying too, because he knows, like it's
he might not
because he's already been here. It's like. Is that a good thing? The fact that he was already behind the bench in a different way?
I know. When you're an assistant, you're not the head honcho. I think that there's, and the person who's above you, they have the final say. So, I think sometimes you're in those positions, you're like, you know what, I wouldn't maybe do it that way. And so maybe he feels it's possible. He feels like he's got some unfinished business that way. Yeah. And, plus it's not like he doesn't know the players. So that's kind of a bonus. The fact that he has worked with them before and he's familiar. I don't know. He won the Calder Cup with Vancouver's affiliate too last year, which I didn't know, with the American Hockey League. So,
but he's potential. I'm sure he'll probably get an interview, I would think, or want to interview anyways. And then David Carl. They've already said, I've heard some of the insiders, like Aaron Dreger already said, like,
chances are it's not going to happen. I mean, I think that Chicago last year threw like a boatload of money at him. He's won several championships with Denver in the NCAA. He's coached the World Junior team. He's got a really interesting background, actually, but he just signed a long-term contract there as well, and it also has a commitment to, put money back into their foundation in Denver, stuff like that. So I think he's very entrenched in that university. So I think it would take a lot to move him out of there. And especially coming into a pressure cooker like Toronto. So I would say that is a long shot, but definitely a really interesting candidate. But the Misha Donskov, that's an interesting one to me because he's coaching the world championship team.
I didn't even know who he was. I was like,
I had to read more about him too because he has done a lot of different things. Like he's kind of fallen into coaching a little bit later, but he was doing more front office, management stuff.
Executive roles like with the OHL and even Hockey Canada.
And now I think he stepped in, I can't remember where he stepped in, but recently to take over the coaching of the Canadian World Junior team and stuff. And so so anyway, they're doing okay right now, and he's coaching 2 Leafs there currently. So and they're doing pretty well.
So those are kind of the names that are kind of have a different perspective. Let's just say on the game if Chayka and Sundin want to take kind of a different route.
Anyway, there's a few more names circulating out there as well. Like you can check out, there's like 50 million articles by 50 million different people. They all have their lists. So, we'll have
some links in our show notes for that too. But the most interesting one actually are for me, the one guy with the internal candidates. And that is Steve Sullivan, who's an assistant now with the Leafs. He just came in December. Obviously, with the firing of Mark Savard, took over the power play, and then John Gruden, who's the current head coach of the Toronto Marlies. So I actually think Steve Sullivan might get the job. I don't know. I don't know why I have this feeling.
I kind of agree. And he does have an in. He worked for 5 years with Chayka. Different type of role. He wasn't in the coaching ranks, but they know each other very well. I think that's somebody that Chayka would be comfortable with. And
because he was a director of player development in Arizona under Chayka, and he was also assistant GM with Chayka or with the Arizona Coyotes. I don't know if Chayka was still there, but I mean the Leafs power play actually ended up going from last at 13.3% to 15th spot, which is pretty good. It jumped halfway or a little over halfway up to 21.3%. So that he did pretty good for a half a season of trying to make the most of the situation. And he's also a former Leaf, which right? And one year favorite players from that from the late 90s.
And he was a skilled guy as well when he played in the NHL. I remember watching him. I don't know. I can't remember if
he played with Sundin too. A little like on that same team.
That little bit of that transition period or whatever. But I remember seeing him. He was doing some just like a target practice, and he like nailed the 4 targets so fast that I was like blown away. So he's a skilled guy. He would probably know how to deal or relate to skilled players. So there's that. The other thing that I really liked is I just watching him interact with players on the bench in the half season he's been with us so far. Like he's involved, and you can see him going over to talk to players and not in an animated getting at them way, in a, working with them discussion.
And he was an assistant coach too with the Marlies for a couple of seasons, right? So it's not like he's somebody like totally new to that.
Yeah.
So, I just think I think he might get the position. I don't know, because of the familiarity with Chayka and what.
That's
obviously
big bite to chew off. That's a huge step, though. That's the only thing that worries me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know if he's ready for it. We don't know if he's ready for it, but there's going to be a lot. And then John Gruden, I mean, he's obviously coaching the Marlies pretty well.
Yeah, and I think that anybody who's asked him so far, he said that's not on the radar right now, which obviously he's going to say that. He's concerned about the team he's coaching right now.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So those are, and I'm sure there's others too that are going to come out there for sure, like for the next, probably there. I don't know if there's going to be a helicopter over the Toronto Pearson Airport trying to find who's coming in and out for interviews, but we'll see what happens.
I feel like this is not one that they have to pull a quick trigger on. They can take their time a little bit, making sure that they have discussions, and just like they did with Berube, I think the main thing is they're gonna talk about philosophy, how they see the game, and they need to know that whoever they're hiring is on the same page as them. So that's number one
for sure.
Yeah. Well, whoever ends up being the Leafs' next head coach, they are going to have to work differently to support and promote the development of younger prospects in the system for sure. So to talk about prospects eligible to be drafted in this year's NHL Entry Draft, for a third period segment, we welcome Sam Tirpák, head European scout for Pro Hockey Group.
So on May the 5th, lucky number 12 gave the Leafs the first overall pick in this year's NHL Draft. And to talk about some of the players eligible to be drafted, we are excited to have Sam Tirpák of Pro Hockey Group join us for our third period segment.
Sam is based in Slovakia and is the head European scout and video analyst for Pro Hockey Group. He has many years of experience in European amateur hockey scouting, and we welcome him to the show. Thanks for coming on with us today, Sam.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yes, all good.
How have you been? All good?
Good.
Pretty good. It's a long weekend here in Canada, so we're good. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. All right. So as we just mentioned, the Leafs have the number 1 pick in the 2026 NHL Entry Draft, and majority of hockey analysts here in North America are saying the Leafs should take left winger Gavin McKenna with that first pick. Ivar Stenberg of the Swedish Hockey League and also plays left wing and is a close second. Who do you think the Leafs should take with that first overall pick?
Like, I know you did a deep dive on him, so on one of these guys.
Yeah. For me, the answer is Stenberg. Personally, it's really close. They are in the same tier. The difference between them is so incredibly small. I don't think you can go wrong with either of the guys. Personally, I prefer Stenberg because he is a bit of a more well-rounded player. I don't think he's necessarily a Selke level defensive player, but he's a more reliable player. He can play a better support game at 5-on-5, which to me would be a kind of a deal breaker between the two. They have both offensively super skilled. McKenna has that ridiculous element of potentially being over 100-point player. While Stenberg might be closer to 90, 95-ish, just below that, but he's a more well-rounded player, and I think he's going to be more useful in the playoffs once the games get tighter, once you have to have that detail there. But as I said, you can't go wrong with either. I've seen both of them play live, and they're both super exciting players.
Do you think Stenberg is more, I guess, like, does he play on the penalty kill? Like, has he done that? Like, is he more...
not on a pro level yet this year?
Okay.
He's capable. He played that under 20 level at the World Juniors and previously with under 18 team as well. But he's capable. I'm not sure McKenna will ever be capable, which is completely fine. You're drafting a superstar type of player with either of the two. So, but if you can provide a support play like between 30 seconds to a minute on a penalty kill down the line in his prime, it's can help a little. It's not a deal breaker. You're getting
Do you know of a comparison? I guess that was my first question that came back to me now. Do you know of a comparison like to an NHL player? Let's just say, like, not to put any pressure on the kid himself, but to say if he would compare who he would compare to.
It gives a bit of a vision to the fans, like I guess who they can kind of match the player with long term. So I think comparables are good in that sense. So for me, Stenberg is kind of like a Kaprizov type, who is gonna produce. He's gonna produce a good shot, primarily a playmaker. He can drive the play. He can try to play from the wing and be aggressive in the neutral zone. Have a good support game. But Kaprizov is not necessarily known as a defensive type, which is what I believe Stenberg is going to be similar in that sense. And for McKenna, my comparable would be if Jack Hughes was a left winger. I've seen Kucherov thrown around. I've seen other names of that caliber thrown around. I'm not sure he's that personally. But if he is, let's say, Jack Hughes fully on the left wing side, it's completely fine.
And I guess
you're still getting a superstar player.
Honestly. No, it's tough, like you're saying, and I guess size-wise too, McKenna would be more, I guess, equal to a Jack Hughes type of player, because I guess Stenberg is a little bit bigger too, so that's I guess a small difference between the guys.
So, how much do you think their trajectory and the different development paths factor into where they are right now versus their natural attributes? Like, they're both young guys, and really, they're, like you said, Stenberg has a much more well-rounded game. Is that something that McKenna could add to his game, though? With the right development?
Potentially, I never say no to these kinds of things, because development is not linear, and every guy develops differently. Maybe McKenna can channel some of that confidence that he definitely has in his game, as we see from the highlight reels and seeing it live. Also, it was there. I think if he can channel that on the defensive end, maybe he can improve for sure. As I said, the open is not linear. I think Stenberg is a guy who could potentially even raise his defensive game more so than what he is right now, which is a kind of like a secondary support defensive type of player who is not primarily relied upon for that. But you can get him out there, like down a goal or like up a goal in the playoff game type of player. And
we could see him now too.
Development with Stenberg I think he's gonna be in the NHL right away. I can see him as a player who can play with any of whoever Toronto's top 3 centers are gonna be. Whether that's Austin, JT, and then somebody, or Austin, somebody, and then JT, whatever that ends up being, he can play with each of the 3. Even the mystery man who is the third center, whoever that is. We'll see what happens this summer. But
lots of changes coming, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. And so I'm excited for it. McKenna, I think he would be primarily used with Austin as his setup man, which makes sense. That's the biggest potential. But with Stenberg, he's useful in a bunch of different roles, and I think he can produce with anyone. But yeah, but we'll see what happens and who they select. It's gonna be incredibly tight until the draft day. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, they'll have Sundin. Stenberg will have Sundin probably on his side, right? As cheering him on.
Yeah.
potentially,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
potentially.
Yeah.
Well, we know for sure either way they're not. We're going to be getting a good player, so that's all that really matters.
You're getting a star player.
100%.
New
Yeah.
core
So
four.
exactly. Love it. Okay. So the Leafs also have a second and third round picks at 62 and 69 in this year's draft. Can you give us some players who you think would be solid picks in later rounds of the draft for the Leafs?
For sure, there are some guys that I would definitely take a look at. It all depends on how the draft unfolds in the first round, and basically
obviously, yeah.
the entire second round until they get to their pick in the second and third. But potentially, you can add a defenseman. You can add centerman there. So I don't worry about positional.
We need those both of those
for sure. And you can fill the cap boards in this draft because there are plenty of centers that will be available in the second, third, fourth round, and plenty of defensemen who will be available at the same places. So some of the names just to mention is potentially Thomas Vandenberg from Ottawa 67s. He's a 5'11", a hardworking, creative, speedy two-way center. Who else is there? Adam Anderson, who I wouldn't be surprised if somebody likes a lot more than maybe public indicates, if you will. Who is a 6'4", two-way, responsible, high IQ center out of Sweden. Potentially later rounds could be Latvian center Oliver Smurnieks, who is at the championship with Latvia as the youngest Latvian ever. Who's another? He's. I loved watching him play. He plays a pro game already. He's an annoying guy to play against because he's always on your tail. Like he's
we
always.
Like that. We like the sound of that one, Sam. We like the sound of that one.
Me too. me too. I always like watching him play because he's an annoying player. Like he's like a freaking
like a
mosquito.
dog, right? Like a dog or
come on, get out of here. Yeah.
Oh, we like that. Yeah. Oh,
Me too.
Any defenseman? Is there any
another so defenseman? There will be plenty.
That's good. We need defense.
Yeah. Oh yeah. More so depth, and for me, I'm big on size and ability. So but you have to be able to play at that size, not just be big for nothing. I don't like that, but I like guys who can play at that size. And one of the few of the names are Yaroslav Fedoseev from Russia as a 6'2" puck mover who's a kind of a shutdown type of defenseman who's good gap control, defensive awareness. Another one is Miles Gudmundsson, who plays a mean game. He's a mean player, 6'2". He has a big frame to fill, and but he's mean. He likes to hit people at least once a game where it's a big hit where the player struggles to get up from the ice, and that's a consistent thing throughout the year with him. Moves the puck well, can direct the power play as well, but he can. I think his trajectory is more towards being a two-way guy that can kind of do it all in the bottom four on defense.
And what's his name again?
You said it. Yeah, he played for the Swedish national team at the U18s.
All right.
In Slovakia and plays in Sweden in the junior league. A lot of offensive usage there, but I see him more as a two-way guy. long term.
Okay.
Potentially, those are two righties. To name some left shot defensemen would be Lyndon Neach, who plays for UMass. He's a 6'2" puck mover, or 6'3" puck mover from UMass and NCAA already as a late 07. So he's a puck mover also. You see the you see the consistent thing with the players I mentioned. It's size, puck moving, and I guess kind of having smarts to play either good defensive or just make a difference all over the ice. And that's a consistent thing that I like seeing in players. And when I see it, I make sure to note it down.
Well, I think that's
those three are the main thing.
Yeah. The league is really moving in that direction. Like, you've got to be able to break the puck out. It's just not, like you said, it's not good enough anymore to be a big guy and be able to shut things down. And we've seen this year for sure that the Leafs were lacking somebody to be able to move the puck down the ice and get it to our stars, right? So yeah, it's going to be, I kind of agree with you with that, with those assessments. We're going to watch those players.
Having said that, having saved defensemen is essentially good, but when you rely on having those all over the defensive group, you might struggle with the puck and you're breaking out and you're maybe too safe. And that's also not good for success because you can't break the puck, you can't produce any offense from the defensive end, and then what?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you end up stuck in your own zone like the Leafs did most of the year this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So shifting to the Leafs prospects and players currently in the system, in last year's draft with their second round pick, the Leafs selected, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, Tinus Luc Koblar. Koblar is the easy part. That's his last name. Center he's actually from Norway, but he played in Leksands in the Swedish Hockey League last season. He had 8 goals, 6 assists, and we heard he had a really strong season. Can you tell us more about this kid, Koblar?
For sure. I actually watched him earlier today when Norway played against Slovakia at the World. So I watched him play. He was Norway's best forward in the game, and he's 6'4". He's big body, good skater, and just reliable. And he's growing into that body of his, into that frame. He's gonna get stronger. He's gonna get bigger. I find his speed to be good, and he's a useful player. Like, he can play all situations. He's kind of projecting to be a bottom 6 kind of center that he can play 3C, 4C. He maybe on the wing, can play all kinds of different roles. So
maybe
I like him a lot.
Yeah, he might be our replacement for Fraser Minton. Sounds like maybe who we lost, but you never know. Yeah.
He had a great year. I wasn't expecting him to burst onto the scene in SHL like he did. Frankly, I thought it would be more of a longer term thing with him because he didn't produce much, relatively speaking, to the other top prospects out of Sweden. But he's just smart. He's smart. He uses his stick well, and he's developing his physical game. He wasn't fully there in his draft year. It started to get more of it. He was mocking it up with guys as well in this game today, actually. So it was good to see that kind of physicality come along, as well as the ability to play, the ability to produce. He scored a goal. It was a rather random shot between the in the offensive zone, but it still counts.
In today's game, he scored a goal.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Oh, cool.
So the only Norwegian goal.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, we know that Slovakia is kind of a juggernaut right now. So there are good teams coming out of there.
There's a lot of
enjoy it while it's there, though, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
But so, what do you think the timeline is for Koblar then, like to come over to North America AHL and work his way up?
Mm-hmm. So he's moving to a different team because Leksands relegated in the to Hockey Allsvenskan. He's moving to a different team. I think it was rumored to be Rögle in the SHL, and just another year or two there, and then another year or two with Marlies. It's a bit of a longer path with those guys. They need to learn how to play with their size on the North American ice. So I expect next year for him to be his last year in Sweden. Then I expect him to move to the Toronto Marlies and then just continue to develop. We'll see what kind of role he has down the line. That's a 2 years from now conversation, frankly.
So
first year will be just getting acclimatized to AHL and
So the competition that he plays against, though, it's like he's playing in the Swedish Hockey League. Like he'll be playing against.
It's the best European league for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the closest league to AHL you can get.
Right.
So it's a bit softer, so you can't really learn the physical aspect as much as that's going to be the part where he's going to have to figure it out fully once he gets to the Marlies. But once he gets there, which will be 2027, we'll be joining for a playoff run, just calculating in my head. And it's 27, 28, first year with Marlies, 28, 29, second year. So 29, 30, you're looking for probably getting a bottom six center, if so.
Yeah.
Right. These guys, people have to realize that it takes so long to develop these kinds of guys, especially for the bottom six roles where you have it internally.
But at least we have something there. Like, I mean, you gotta you gotta have the patience to develop, and because the Leafs don't really have a lot right now in the system, and so we gotta wait. But at least it's a good sign that there's something there.
Yeah. We have some prospects in the pipeline now to watch, which is great news. So, all right. So, as you may have heard, the Leafs parted ways with their coach, Craig Berube, and the search is on for a new bench boss. In the context of elite prospects and the first overall pick that, we're expecting to get this year, how much do you think having, quote unquote, the right coach can affect the development and trajectory of young players drafted into an organization?
It can have a huge impact. Like when you look around the NHL and the younger coaches especially, which I think is the direction they will take based on no information whatsoever given to me, or me asking, none of my business. So I think they would be wise to go younger on a coach. And what I look for in a coach, and there are teams who do that already, is a coach who's going to be there at development camp day one on the ice with the prospect. A guy who is involved like that. I think it's
from the
important, right from the get-go, to know everybody, because the prospects we see it as, this guy cares about even us who are 5-6 years away, right? And so they look at that and like, okay, this guy is there, he works, and I don't know the specific names that will be targeted. Rumor mill is out there, as it is in the Leafland, for sure. But
there's other teams too looking for coaches, so it's
there's Cassidy and others. I think it's gonna be a name nobody talks about. That's I'm kind of with specific one, but
I'm with you on that too. That I think that today's player is very different, and the place that the spot that the Leafs are in right now is kind of different. Like, yes, they want to retool more than rebuild, but you still you're gonna have to bring up these guys, differently than a team that is like ready to kind of hit the ground running and win next year. Like I don't think that's where we're at. I don't think it's going to be like a 1-year turnaround
No.
per se. But I like that you said, that you like to see a coach that, is there and present with the AHL team or interacting with prospects early on. I don't know, like here, obviously the Marlies are close by for a reason, but I don't know that I've ever heard of our coaches actually going there and participating. I know that they do obviously have their, collaboration with the AHL coaching staff, and I'm sure they all work well together behind the scenes. But like, I don't know if I've ever seen or heard, one of our coaches being involved kind of from the beginning like that.
There are a couple of the NHL, Marty Saint-Louis in
that I believe
Montreal.
100%.
He's involved day one, and also former assistant with the Leafs, Spencer Carberry, in Washington. He's the same. So I look for a kind of guy like that, where it might not be the biggest name on the coaching market, but hypothetically speaking, but he's gonna bring the systems. He's gonna just be a guy who be like the prospects see there with them. I think that goes a long way, and
another name,
once
I
that
guess,
trust is established, that's
sorry, I cut in there, but no, another name I was thinking of was Manny Malhotra. I guess that's a younger coach coming up, but he's in Vancouver. I'm thinking Vancouver is going to want to keep him in the system, but he's a guy that
I believe so.
Yeah.
And they had a good. I think they had a good collaboration with the new GM in Abbotsford. So we'll see what happens there. I have no information, to be honest. So. But just connecting the dots, I think he stays in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Well, Sam, this is like really excellent insight, and I think our listeners are going to be really interested to hear about some of these kids to watch. And you gave us really good insight on the number one pick too, because that makes us feel like we're going to be set no matter what. So happy about that.
I don't worry either way. It's either way they go. It's gonna be a franchise altering player, and it was good to talk to you.
Oh yes, definitely wonderful. We will definitely
so much energy,
pick your brain and have you on again on a future show for sure.
I would love to for sure.
Awesome. So fans, be sure to follow Sam on X. His profile there is @SammyT_51. I think it's capital T. So lowercase Sammy, capital T _51 for more of his insights on future prospects, and check out prohockeygroup.com as well to learn more about their scouting coverage, and check out Sam's profiles there as well. He's got a great profile of Ivar Stenberg on there too, by the way, so check it out. And of course, we will include these links in our show notes as well. Thanks so much for joining us, Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks for having me, guys. It was really fun.
It's fun for us too.
So thanks again to Sam for coming on the show. Wow, he has a wealth of information with the different prospects, especially because he's based in Europe, and he some of the names that he mentioned there, some of the players like he's like I'd never heard of, sort of thing. So I'm going to definitely be looking them up, and it's going to be definitely a lot of options for the Leafs in the later rounds too. So, but I guess of the key points, obviously, because we have the first overall pick in the draft, so it was interesting to get his perspective, and that Ivar Stenberg is basically the player that he's highly reporting, and Pro Hockey Group too on their on their website have put him as their
Jason
favorite.
Bukala is pretty much telling anybody who will listen that Ivar Stenberg should be the number one pick. So
and from what Sam said, he would be more ready to step right into the NHL. He's a versatile player, can play up and down the lineup. So, I see that, but I don't know. Just the fact of having, it would be nice to draft a Canadian player too.
For sure. Like there's a lot of other narratives definitely around McKenna that, a kid from Sweden cannot match. Right. The other thing about it is that, yes, he's a versatile player. Yes, he can jump in. We're watching him right now in the World Championship. He's on the top line for Sweden right now. They're doing really well. I have no doubt, I think he threw out the comparable of Kaprizov as a good comparable for him.
Right. Yeah.
And I have no doubt he would definitely add something in stability, and he would be a really, really good player for us. But what McKenna has is stuff that cannot be taught. Right. And to think that he will not evolve other parts of his game, I don't buy that. I don't really, I don't follow these players, and no doubt, the way they evaluate players 100%, they have it down, right? Yeah. And definitely there's probably deficiencies in McKenna's game, defensively. I was surprised in evaluations, like his compete level comes up as not the greatest and not consistent enough. And we already have a guy like that on our team who's a winger. So, anyway, but I kind of feel like, if elite players find a way, and I just look at even how, Austin Matthews is a center. Definitely, I think he's probably, a bar higher than maybe what McKenna is, because every year, the top pick he's the top pick in comparison to anybody else who's under him, right? So who knows how generational he will be, but he has attributes that you can't teach those things. And I've always felt like the defensive side of the game, you can learn that.
Yeah.
So
that's what they say. All the coaches and developing players, like they say, you can't teach off like that skill part of it.
No, not the stuff that he does.
Yeah, especially.
That's just a natural God-given gift, right?
Yeah.
So,
no.
So I no doubt whoever they would choose.
Sam said too, though, that either or. It's just so close. The minute,
well, even he said that watching him live, is something. Yeah, So So it's either way. I think we're going to get a good player, but if we want to see that pop, that thing that, brings us out of our seats, I think McKenna's the kid that's going to deliver that. Yeah. Is he going to be ready to help us get to a Stanley Cup final next year? Maybe not as much as Stenberg.
But that's true.
And not even Stenberg can do that probably. But anyways, you see my point is that there's going to be a little bit more of a curve for McKenna in some areas of the game.
Yeah.
And it's just that they're different style of play too,
which Sam gave us all the information on that. The other thing that I liked was his comments on Tinus Luc Koblar. And he's still a few years away. He's a Leafs prospect, picked last year and in last year's draft, but he's still a few years away. But his reviews of Koblar at least indicate he's headed in the right direction to become a future bottom six NHL player. And I just like the description of the fact, like he said, like he's a feisty player. He likes to get in there and just be more of a defensive style, I guess, player. And I think you never know. Like I said to Sam, maybe he'll be like Fraser Mint in our replacement, right? You never know. He's a big center, so
And we definitely need to develop some strength up the middle again because we went pretty quickly from having good depth there to not having any. So
that's for sure. Yeah.
Anyway, he gave us a lot of, like you said, really good options for lower in the draft, and he described some kind of feisty mean kind of players available at center and D.
Yeah.
And so we'll keep an eye out for some of those players that he talked about as well. Anyway, like we were talking about, the World Championship is on currently, and fans can watch Koblar playing for Norway and Ivar Stenberg playing for Sweden in the IIHF World Championship tournament that is currently being played in Zurich, Switzerland. And there's still lots of time between now and the NHL Draft on June 26th and 27th. There will most likely be more news from Leafs GM John Chaika and Senior Advisor Matt Sundin between now and the end of June.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think it's going to be never ending for a while.
Yeah.
But and the easiest way to keep up to date on all your Leafs news is to follow our show. So please hit that follow or subscribe button, as it helps us get noticed as a source for Leafs content. We'd also love to hear from you. Please leave us a comment and let us know what you think of the show. We want to thank you for listening to us on the Believe Network at Believe.com. It's BLEAV.com, or on any of your favorite podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Ladies Talking Leafs is everywhere.
Another way to help us out is by visiting our Ko-fi page at Ko-fi.com. You can follow us there, and if you choose to, you can support us by buying us a coffee. Any donation goes towards helping us produce the show and making it even better for you. You can find the link to our Ko-fi page on our show notes or in any of our social media profile pages.
And as always, we thank our healthcare workers and first responders for everything that they do.
And we thank you, as always, for listening and watching Ladies Talking Leafs. Until next time, go Leafs, go. And go Marlies.
Yes, go Marlies.